AWB here, along with another Am I the Asshole story. So here goes. And again, before I even get started, I want to apologize for not reading these quickly. I'm going to make sure I do better. Periods. Okay. So here goes. AWB. Am I the asshole for wanting to do binding spell on my family? Hi, I hope that I hope all is well with the African witch bitch. My ex-boyfriend and I dated for 2 years, and within the last 2 years, our relationship, all hell broke loose spiritually and in the mundane. It's a long story. Just for reference, number one, I met him when I was 23, he was 31. Number two, he has children from a previous relationship that lives with his mother. Hard eye roll. She was like, helps, quote unquote, take care of his kids, watching them, buying them things, etc. When we started dating, I lived with my parents and currently still am. Number four, his brother and sister-in-law and their 2 children live in an apartment together with my ex and his children. Ooh, that's crowded. It all started when I found out I was pregnant. My family was excited. My mom immediately helped me with the preparations for the baby. I am sending my then boyfriend, let's call him Bob, pictures of the stuff that that my family were getting for the baby. And he's saying cute. But what I was not hearing is, here's some money to help get stuff for the baby. Or here's some stuff that I bought for the baby. I assume because it was still early in my pregnancy, around 4 to 5, months. By this time, eventually he would say something. Eventually he did and asked what else the baby was lacking. And he promised to buy a plethora of things like a bassinet, a car seat, a stroller. Around 7 months, I had my baby shower and he did buy the baby a car seat and brought it to the event. He also promised to help pay for things for my baby shower, which my mom and I ended up planning and paying for ourselves, even after we tried to get Bob and his mom involved. Also, out of the 50 people invited to the baby shower, only 3 of his family members showed up empty-handed, may I add, including his mama. Later, I would find out from one of his family members that his mom, whom I gave the invitations to handed out to her side of the family, didn't hand them out until the day before the event. Around my 37-week appointment, I found out that I had to be induced the next day due to preeclampsia-like symptoms. I told Bob this as soon as I found out, and he could make preparations, being that he has children. I was induced at 3 p.m. and he showed up at 7 p.m. When I called to see where he was, he said that he was just getting off work and had to drop his kids off before he could come. Now, my whole pregnancy, I could count on my hand how many appointments he took me to because of work, and I understood. But the time when I needed him the most, being induced, he couldn't take off. Mind you, his supervisor at the company he works for, he can take off anytime, not to mention the day I found out I was being induced, my mom and I ended up having to go to Walmart and buy the bassinet, the stroller, because Bob still hadn't gotten them. When we were never reimbursed or offered money to help when we told him about it. Even after the baby's birth, my gosh, this is deep. This is so deep. Like, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of this and I'm sitting up here thinking a whole shit ton of shit, but that's all right. We finna get to it, baby. We finna get to it. Even after the baby's birth, I had hell. I decided to stay home with my family and he would come and visit when he can. Sometimes 2 weeks would go by without seeing Bob. He did offer to come and pick up the baby when he was off work, but we were Black and Southern, and my mom wasn't going for it, and we believe a newborn stays with their mother for a while. Side note, this is culture. When if you're black and if you're Southern, you don't have to necessarily be Southern, but in the black community, the baby stays with the mama for 8 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. That means in traditional spiritual systems, and definitely in African traditionalism, the mother and the baby don't leave the house for 6 to 8 weeks. That means that whatever she needs, it has to be brought to her. She cannot leave the home, and the baby has to stay by her side for 6 to 8 weeks. That's culture. So I understand exactly where she's coming from. And if anybody see a pregnant woman outside of the house between 6 to 8 weeks, it's going to be a problem. They're going to have a lot of shit to say. She can't leave the house. The baby can't leave the house. So I understand exactly what she's saying. Moving on. Okay. My family and I weren't going for it, and we believe the newborn should stay with the mother for a while. Still, long periods of time would go by without seeing him. This goes on for 4 months, and I go off on him and said I didn't want to be with someone who doesn't take care of their child. And I got the feeling that he still has the feelings for his ex whom he had his children with, but that's a whole nother story. He tries to do the better, but still putting in minimal effort, bringing a box of Pampers, distilled water once a month, and he did buy the baby some Christmas gifts. He started coming once a week around the time some things started coming out about the mother that gave some things started coming out about his mother that gave me and the family incentives to keep the baby home with us. We found out from word of mouth that she does hard drugs, cocoa, meaning she snorts powder. She goes around putting root on men for money in exchange for sex while watching Bob's kids. Damn. She's a thief and steals money from Bob, which I already knew because Bob told me this out of his own mouth, that he caught her stealing from him before. I have reason to believe that these things are true because during me and Bob's relationships, I had an odd encounter with her and one of her sex victims. So his mama is doing baneful work to coerce men to have sex with her and give them money. Damn. I didn't see them have sex, but something was off. And guess what? Bob's excuse for it is why he couldn't come to see our baby. His mom had his car, quote unquote. She would drop him off at work and drive around in it doing God knows what. Our whole relationship, I had to live in 3 different places and had 3 different jobs she couldn't keep. Wait, our whole relationship, I've known her to have 3 different places and 3 different jobs she couldn't keep. Okay, my aunt, who's a seer, said Bob's mom was putting roots on him and have him under her feet, which I believe. She also said that his mom and his family put roots on his ex and his children to keep her from asking him about money and from them to keep the money, to keep the kids living with Bob. I lurked on his ex Facebook page from years back and the post of her complaining about how Bob didn't take care of his kids and she needed money. And then as I still haven't allowed my son to go over Bob's house alone. He's not even 1 yet, and I just don't want him to be around his mom's dysfunction. That's smart. You protecting your child. I tell Bob that he can stop by any time to see the baby for his safety. He does not get sick, the ribs still out, so that the other kids don't hurt him by taking because they're too rambunctious and don't listen. Okay. I did bluntly come out and say that I don't want him to take the baby because I don't trust him or his mom. I didn't want him to think that I was on to them. Excuse, I still not good enough, even though I know him and his mom try to do the same thing with me that they did to the other children's mother. He threatened to try to get custody of my baby. I don't understand because he and his mother haven't done anything substantial to help take care of him. Bob's family never stood by to see the baby up until this day. I would not be surprised if his mom rooted up their whole family to do what she says. And I also tried to use a fight and got into years against me to make it seem like I'm the violent person. I wasn't even the aggressor. It was in self-defense. Recently, Bob came to my house to see the baby. And when he left, my baby smelled like sulfur. My aunt said that they're most definitely trying to do something. My mom tried to come over to get some, to get, wait, my mom tried to come over to do the same, but my aunt warned her that my baby warned me and my mom in advance and stopped her from coming over. My aunt my aunt helped me to do some work to help keep things settled, but these people are relentless and underhanded. I also recently found out that his car that his mom likes to take and drive around was originally hers and she couldn't finish paying for it, so he took over the payments. He said it was his. Also, the apartment that he claimed to let his mother and his family stay in during hard times was originally the brothers, and Bob came in and stayed with them. He is a liar, stingy, crazy, and he makes good money. I want to do a binding spell so that my baby remains with my family and they have no chance of legally taking him. I know Bob is still my child's father and he's doing all of this under the guise of wanting to spend time with his baby, but the lengths that they are taking are extreme and they're not trustworthy people. I would want Bob to have children around this type of dysfunction. Why would Bob want to have children around this dysfunction? His mother also. They both just want to do what they want with no consequences. Am I the asshole? Shy. Okay, Shy. This is a lot to digest. This is a lot to digest. The first question I want to ask you, which is an irrelevant question, is did you know Bob's family was this fucked up before you allowed his seed to run rampant in your womb? Like I said, that's a irrelevant ass question because this is where you are. But side note, honey, you need to look at somebody's entire family before you allow them to come in such close proximity and fertilize your walls and you know, spray up them walls and them yams and glaze your yams. You feel me? But this is where we are. A binding spell is not something that I would choose to do the deal with this bitch. The fourth thing that I would do is to get a reading to find out if she's really doing work. I know you suspect she's doing work, and I get that your auntie told you that she's doing work. But in my opinion, I would get an outside person who is not so close to the family and not related to you to zoom into this situation and look and see, like a trusted reader who is not a blood relative. And if the reader confirms that the bitch is doing work, then I would do all kind of shit to protect myself and my family from him. But from a legal standpoint, he has a right to see his kid. Yeah, he's a piece of shit ass father who didn't do nothing for the baby prior to the baby being here and ain't done a lot since, but he still has his parental rights from a legal standpoint. And for people who don't know, I work with kids at a legal standpoint in my mortal life. So he technically does have a right to see his kid. And if he does go to court for joint custody, unless you can prove that he's unfit, he technically does have that right. Now, as for his mama, I would do all kind of shit to protect myself. I personally wouldn't do a binding spell to bind her, and I wouldn't do a binding spell to bind the kid to me because you already have a connection to your baby. You don't need a binding spell. What you need to do is protection work, and before you do protection work, you need to cloak your work so that that bitch don't see shit you're doing. That means she sees nothing that you're doing, and how you do that is any type of candle magic you do. You get you some sulfur, black salt, and red brick dust and mix it all, combine it together, crunch it up, combine it all together. And then you make a whole ring like a circle and put your candle in the center of the circle and light it up. I would do a reversal on her. I would freeze her ass. And I would do all kind of protection work, including a chicken foot. I'd carry it with me either in my purse or hang it on my door of my home or carry it around my neck to keep and ward off her negative energy. If shit get too crunchy with his mammy and she like hurts your child, then that's we're going to have to step it up a notch. And then we're talking sour jar and coffin boxes, but I don't think we're there yet, to be honest with you. So right now, since she's a sexual predator, of victims that you think that she's going around. You just pretty much had a baby and got in bed with the wrong family. That's literally where you're at right now. You had a baby with a very, very low vibrational ass family. And if she's doing work on her kid to keep him away from you, then you need to do a cleansing spell and a protection spell if you can for him. How you do that? You can bathe him in cleansing and protection soap and give him some sort of talisman to connect with him so that none of the work is shown to him. None of the work is manifest rather to him, and none of it like comes to fruition. That's what I would do. Binding your kid to you is really not really effective, because to me your 1-year-old baby's already bound to you. You need to protect your home, and you need to protect yourself, and you need to protect any type of spell work you're doing to keep yourself protected. The name of your game, baby, is protection work. And your number one line of defense for protection work is your ancestors. So I don't see anything wrong with it. I know you may disagree with me on this, and it's okay if you do. I don't see anything wrong with him getting custody of his kid, because regardless of how you feel about the way his mother is practicing, regardless of how you feel about her fucking ethical code, that's still his mom, and he still has a right to be in his kid's life. The only reason why he wouldn't have a right to be in his kid's life is if he personally would inflict pain or trauma, or if anybody in his family would inflict pain or trauma on the children. This bitch seems like that she is like obsessed with money. She just wants money. So I would definitely do a lot of protection work around my baby and myself to keep her at bay. But this is the price you pay. And I'm saying this with all the love in the world, baby. This is the price you pay for laying down and having a baby with a motherfucker from a low vibrational ass family. And there ain't really shit you can do for the most part, because that's his DNA too. This is why you got to be real good and careful. But you can do work to keep her ass at bay, and that's what you should be working on. The name of the game today, baby, again, is cleansing and protection. And I'm sorry it took me so long to get to this, but damn, this was a lot. And I am truly, truly sorry. But I would definitely petition a death lower to protect my kid if it were me. If this was my son and I was dealing with this shit, which I wouldn't, because there's no fucking way in hell I'm finna allow some low vibrational ass motherfucking sperm to take one of my eggs. No, ma'am. Absolutely not. I'm looking through your whole family. If I see anything crunchy and funky, you're not finna run in with me, because I cannot afford to allow your low vibrational ass, shitty ass sperm to fertilize my high vibrational ass eggs. That's how I see it. And you should see it that way too, for future reference. But for now, protect your child and petition a death lower so that your kid is so protected that if anybody ever come for them, they'll probably end up dead. And I know that y'all probably think that that's fucked up and whatever. But the death lower that I would choose to protect my child, who I definitely would commission, is Maman Brigitte's. So you might want to do your research on her. And only if you are of African descent. Do not petition her if you are not of African descent, because she does not like people who are not of African descent. She is a death lower from Haiti who helped Haitian people slaughter the French for how they were enslaving and vilifying, bullying, raping, murdering, slaughtering the Haitian people. So you might want to think about that. But I am the African witch bitch hoodoo practitioner, sweetheart. I hope I helped you. But in the future, baby, you got to be real good and careful who you lay down with, because this is some bullshit. And his mama just didn't start this shit today or yesterday. She's been a low vibrational ass bitch. How the fuck? You guys realize that peen is one of the easiest things in the world to get for a woman? Why would you have to coerce people to give you that? That means that you're ugly, dumb, you smell, you're something where a man won't even offer his peen. The fact that you would need magic to sexually manipulate a woman, needing magic to sexually manipulate a man, says a lot for me. I am the African witch bitch hoodoo practitioner. I will talk to you guys soon. If you're in the market to purchase low-cost hoodoo supplies, please hit up my website. It's in the description box below. And if you want more in-depth teaching, hit up my Patreon. Very cost affordable, less than $10 a month to be one of my students. I will talk to you guys soon. Ashe.